Welcome. Thinking to myself, all right, got that in there. Do one more thing before we start. This came from Yup. It's got me feeling good. Welcome to another Friday Night Lectures. As we're stepping further and further into our shift, coming into this new earth energy, we in that new space, we in that quantum space. I had a few, this was a day of self-reflection for me on a major level. This is a very major day for me for self-reflection. Just sitting back, understanding things, bringing things, I share. Just sitting there thinking about some things, putting some things together in my mind throughout the week. And I was thinking about parlor tricks. And the thing that I think about with parlor tricks is harmless little tricks that's the, and something being harmless and us becoming ourselves. We'll start with that. And us becoming ourselves, becoming to know ourselves, to understand ourselves and raise our frequencies. Self is to become. Therefore, selfless, understanding we're coming into this balance of being selfish. People are like, oh my God, you shouldn't be selfish. It's all in the way that it is used, just like with anything else. Being selfless, for one example, is when you are selfless, once you have learned how to become selfish, once you have learned to become what you are, coming into your soul purpose, coming into that aspect for yourself, not needing and wanting. We're going to get into all this tonight. You stop failing to fall under the ego traps that happen to a lot of us, even you just coming into yourself. Being overly, whatever's showing up, because I'm always going over like what shows up is supposed to be the reflection for you to understand that experience, to get that observation, to always observe, to see it. So if I think about being selfish, me being selfish to me is understanding that my energy being primarily, I'm in charge of my energy. I'm in charge of the love for myself. I'm in charge of my peace. I'm responsible for my peace. I'm responsible for the trust that I have for myself. I'm responsible for my transparency. I'm responsible for my honesty, my accountability. I'm responsible for these things. I am to become responsible for these things. So I'm very selfish about my energy in regards. I'm very selfish about my energy, my peace, how I deliver my peace, when my peace go, like when my energy goes in that space. To be selfless in an unhealed to be selfless in an unhealed space. You're coming from an unhealed space, is you will find yourself depending on the perceptions and the perspectives of others. You're going to find yourself needing the perspectives and the perceptions and the thought forms and the ideals of others to create the body of that is you. Therefore, you will always find yourself falling into these traps. The worst trap is the harmless trap. We think about harmless traps. They think about harmless traps. Think about a rabbit in the woods, if you will. Think about a rabbit in the woods. And those old traps, I remember my uncle had some of them old ass traps that had like the little cage, and they walk in, and when they pull the food off of the thing, they get trapped into it. Harmless trap. It doesn't do any harm to the physical body. It doesn't do any harm to the physical body. That is the worst trap to be put in, is when you're in a cage, and since you're unconscious of being in this cage, you remain in the cage. Hey, since you're unconscious, you remain in the cage. You don't think anything of it. You got food. You got some food in there. You got water. You in the cage. That is the most harmful position to be in, is inside that harmless cage, inside this harmless trap. Because everything that is programmed around this harmless aspect of yourself, of not dealing with yourself, that's where the tricks can be done. This is where this is where that trick can happen. Something is similar, and we're going to get into a lot of stuff. But I thought about zodiacs. I thought about, and what's crazy is all of this being in that harmless cage, being in this harmless, what you're finding harmless, you're getting something from it. You're not really putting too much into it. You haven't went into depth into things based on your needs are being met, based on the quality, based on the quantity. Your wants are being met based on the quality. Based on the quantity, not the quality. In the other house is based solely upon desire. It's based solely upon desire in your value. Your value is only based upon your worth, your own self-worth. My value cannot be lowered to any other standard outside of me, because I know my purpose. I know what I am. I know who I am. When you're stuck in needs and wants, this is the ultimate trick for a lot of us. When you're stuck in needing and wanting, I was thinking about this on my walk before I put down the rest of the stuff for the lecture. When you're thinking about needing and wanting, it's based on quantity. So I can sit here in the thought process, I don't need nor do I want love, because I am love. I don't need or want anything, for I am aligned and of the essence of everything. This becomes your mindset when you're moving forward and building yourself. When you're aligning yourself and you're building yourself, what are you rooted in? What are the roots that are with the roots of your old self, that in going into that dark space for yourself, the roots of your old self. Everything that is of you now is in the roots of your old self. So if you have not dealt with the things in your old self, these are the things that are nurturing the roots of where you are and why you make the decisions that you make. A lot of your initiation process for yourself. You came into this space with that handicap, which was your ego. Your ego is the mask that is fully formed to mask your inner child from protection. You think about a kid wearing a mask, kid putting on a certain pair of glasses. When you there's certain things you did as a kid, or when you were in your when you were in your child physical sense, the things that you did in order to cope with the aspects of the world around you. That's what your ego does. Your ego created, based on initiation, based on where you're at, your environment, the things to protect you until you were ready to go forward. Even down to the traumas that you chose, these were the things that were going to be the unlocks for you to actually start doing your work. This is one of the main key points when it comes into doing your shadow work, fucking with going into your darkness. Because only through the darkness can you sustain, only through the darkness can you create new light. Any light outside of darkness is a burnt out light. Any light outside of darkness is a burnt out light. So the personalities that you have created outside of the darkness in this space, the personalities that you created outside of the darkness, the projections, who you became in certain situations, those are the ones that you're going to have to deal with now, especially right now. Because if you haven't been doing the work up until this point, you're noticing that those personalities are quantifying and they're simplifying their existence. They're becoming more dense. Remember, we went from the carbon 7 to carbon 12, a more dense energy, a more dense wave of energy into this space. So if my mindset is stuck into this space, what have I created within my world? You start thinking about these, you just start thinking about these things like, what did I create inside of my world? Am I living in two hemispheres? The two hemispheres of your world are your left and your right. Most of us came into a space, we've been moving solely into the aspects of our left, bringing everything in the logic, bringing everything in the reason, bringing everything into that understanding. And then when we are creating from our right hemisphere, from the right hemisphere, what are you creating? You're creating things based off the sustained light. Living in the two houses. You can't live in two houses. The key is to understand your left house. You must go and venture into the right house. Once I'm in my right house and I've done the work in my right house, the wounded trauma, the wounded feminine aspects of myself, these aspects, then I can now understand the aspects of the wounded masculine in this aspect archetype of my energy into this space. Now I'm able to understand this. Now I'm able to understand why my logic worked the way that it did for such a certain period of time. Why my logic? Why my reasoning? Why did I reason this way? And you only can do that once you're able to go into the other house, your other house. Until then, everything that you're going to do is going to be a trap. You're going to trap yourself in being stuck on the trend or the latest thing that should be done within a space. You're going to be stuck in this space of following things that fit that logical pattern because everybody else is doing it. The key to elevation is separation. So I'm not looking for what everybody else is doing. I'm not looking for the monastery I'm looking for what is being worshipped or represented by that monastery. Study all and follow none. I'm not looking for the temple of everybody that's worshiping Buddha. I want the information that is of Buddha, because that's what's truly resonating with me. Everything in between that is stuff that I have to understand to get to this point. There's no more putting it in a box. There's no more closing yourself down. There's no more putting yourself into that position. That's not going to jettison you anywhere. You're going to get trapped in this mindset where a lot of people get trapped in this mindset where they're thinking about, well, I do this now and I do this. And so people that don't do this, my people are lost. And I don't think about my people being lost, because that means I have to create that thought for my people being lost. That becomes the reason for me. That becomes the unsung reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. That becomes the unsung reason of me doing my entire aspect of work. These are the things that you start to think about. Really start thinking about things. Really start thinking. Changing the mentality. Once you can tell if you have changed your mentality or the mentalities of your the old behavior patterns that you had when you start changing the things around you. You start moving the things around you to match that frequency. You're not doing it because they say that this stone does this, or this stone or these incense mean this. They only mean that if you've already created a definition within your mind for it to mean that. You are programming that for yourself. I've had several conversations just in this week alone, and people are in that questioning phase of, well, I'm doing this and I'm doing this and I'm doing this, and then this is happening and this is happening and this is happening. I'm doing very positive things, but these negative things keep happening to me. That's the other half of your thought process. That's what it's showing you. When you do this work, when you're doing your work, when you're doing your rituals, you're setting your intentions, you're setting your affirmations, the things that will, you remember, you're coming into alignment. You're not coming into a space of, I want to be more abundant. I want to be more wealth. I want to be wealthy. I want to be more prosperous. You're already prosperous. You're already wealthy. You're already abundant. What you're doing now is you're setting the tone of, what am I abundant in? This is when I did a video on a live. When you're checking your house, when you're checking your cup, what is in your cup right now? What is in your cup? Everybody feels like it's like this thought process in most people's minds where all I have to do is, now that I am enlightened, you cannot become enlightened if you're already in light. You have to go into this darkness. You have to come into this darkness. You have to come into this darkness to create the parameters and the conduits and the systems for you to actually go out into the light, for you to create new light. This is where most people are falling out of balance, because you want to stay within this light aspect, but everything that created that light aspect has to stay in place. Everything that stayed in your house that was based upon the light, it has to stay going and moving and functioning in order for you to keep getting what you're getting out of that space. So if you have not done the work in healing, if you have not done your healing work, and you're used to being in your space and you were getting money, you were getting these things for yourself, and now you're noticing that your shit is slowing down. You're noticing that your money isn't right anymore. You're noticing that your relationships are falling apart. You're noticing these things throughout your retrogrades, and you're wondering, why are these things happening to me? I'm saying my affirmations every day. I'm drinking my water. I'm drinking my water. I'm meditating every day. I'm doing these things every single day. Everything should be falling into place. You're looking at it from the human perspective, because everything is falling into place. In order for you to receive more, that cup has to be checked. That cup has to be emptied. You can't run around with that's like you running around that's like me running around in the club, go to the bartender and you order a drink, and you was flirting with the bartender and they gave you some extra stuff in your drink. Now you got to carry this bottle, just glass, through the club and not spill a drop. So now, not only are you maintaining this cup that is full, you're maintaining the personality that this cup signifies. You're maintaining the cup you're maintaining the cup that now that mindset or that cup signifies. You're maintaining that personality. I'm not into maintaining a personality for anyone. Ask me a question, I'll give you an answer. Ask me a question, I'll give you an answer. My answers are going to come from honesty and me being transparent to my space. But before, that's what, let's go back. Let's scale back. The aspects of need and want versus love. I want someone to love me at my worst in order to enjoy me at my best. I want someone to love me at my worst to enjoy me at my best. If I can get somebody to love me at my worst, I'm being open. I'm going to be either open or I'm going to be honest. Remember, need and want is based on one or the other spectrum. So I'm either going to be open or I'm going to be honest. Open and honesty are two different aspects. They're both needed. You can be very open and never be honest, and you can be very honest and never be open. Look at Baby Boy when he was told he was honest, but he wasn't open to himself to realize what the fuck he was saying made no sense. Most of us move into that space. Like, you're open, so you'll tell them everything that you need, everything that is needed and wanted to be heard in order to get the reaction, in order for you to be able to use those reactions, to use that energy. So you got what you needed and you wanted based on the quantity. Your openness will be based upon the need, the level of quality of the needs and wants that are met within that space. Or you being honest. Your honesty will be based upon the needs and the wants that are met within that space. You won't be too honest. That means you can start deferring your shit. You'll start going up and down with your shit. You won't be as honest when you're not getting a certain thing. When you're getting something, when you're not getting something. So you'll be more open about, I'm not getting this, so I'm not doing this. You see how you can manipulate that space? That's your trick. This is you setting yourself in the tone of being stuck within that trap. Trapping yourself in these boxes to lock yourself into a space. My desire is based, my desired impact is always going to be based upon my value. How do I work on my value? How do I cultivate my value outside of the physical aspects? The love that I have for myself is coming from a space to where I literally took myself to no self. I'm getting into no self tonight. I really literally got to a point to where I looked at myself with nothing, with just going into that space of no self for myself, that nothingness. And I still had the longing subsided, the urges were subsiding in that aspect of the work. And then I found my true value. My darkest point, one of the darkest points in that point of me going into the shadow of my work for myself. And this allows you to actually set the new tone for your value, your desired impact. You become the aspect of love for yourself. Love is forgiving, love is just, love is destructive, love is very destructive. That's why when you get into a position based on needing and wanting love, when you go into that space, it destroys aspects of you. It's supposed to. It's destroying aspects of you that you thought you would never do, or you thought there was things you would never do, or you thought there was things that you would never do, and you thought there was things that you've done and you've never done, you would never do them again, but you find yourself doing it. That's the destructive force of love in that space based on the quality of what you're trying to achieve. But now your quality, being in that selfless state, is now determined by somebody else. I don't want somebody not to like me. I don't want people not to like me. I don't want people not to want to deal with me. I don't want that to happen to me. Elevation requires separation. Elevation requires that separation. One of the biggest tricks that happen into our minds in our ego traps is staying within too much of staying in the light or staying too much in the darkness. Either way, on either end of that spectrum of the polarity, give you a nice little story, give you a nice thought. Under the definition of somebody having a good heart, they're solely looking at the definition. They got a good heart. I know they have a good heart because they can do good things. If I went into your hood, went into your neighborhood, and for 363 days of the year, 363 days of the year, I went into your neighborhood, I'm pushing stolen goods, selling drugs. I shot your uncle. Had motherfuckers rape your aunt. I fucked with your baby mother. One of your kids might be mine. There's some horrendous ass shit. But on Thanksgiving Eve, the eve of Thanksgiving and Christmas Eve, I'm giving out whole dinners to your hood. I go in your hood and give out whole dinners. Did that necessarily give me a good heart? That necessarily give that say that I have a good heart? Now take that same instance. I do this year in and year out, year in and year out, year in and year out, year in and year out. In your space, doing this year in and year out. One day, you get old enough. You are the son. You are the daughter. You are the baby mother. There was somebody in your family. And one of these eves, whether the Christmas or the Thanksgiving, you always had a good heart. You were always giving. You were always all of these aspects. You were always doing it all year round. But everybody always noticed that it happened at one time based on their needs and wants. And then you run up on me and you kill me. You stop my existence in this space. Does that mean that you have a bad heart for that one instance? How is everybody going to react? It's all based on the polarity. Because the individuals that were benefiting from one side, they got turkey dinners, they got stuff from me, they got escapes from me. And on the other end, you didn't give them anything. So what's the quality? Now, who's going to pass out the turkeys? Who's going to pass out the dinners? Who's going to give away TVs during these block parties? Are you going to do it? So now you're looked at as they were your quality, your quantity, your desire, your value, your thought process in that mindset where you're at. What does it mean to be good? What does it mean to be bad? Those are ego. That's when you get stuck in the ego trap. Because at the core of me being perceived to be evil, at the core, there is a reason that I must find out for myself, the reason that's driving me to do what I'm doing. In the core of me being good, there is a reason for me to be good that I've created this reason of being good. But in that same aspect, I'm looking outside of my door, and no matter how good I am, I'm following the rules. I'm following the rules. I'm not questioning the rules. Where on the other end, this person has questioned rules and made their own fucking morality, made their own rules. And they're living good. I'm living horribly. So then this becomes the mindset of struggle. As long as I am being this way, eventually I will be blessed and gifted something. So I look at my small victories. I got a good job. I got a raise at my job based on me struggling for so long in this space. So now you struggled, not realizing that either way in that space, your cause, your original cause, this is the important part, that original cause that you set your tone for now has to stay in. That is your momentum. As long as that's happening, as long as that is being created, you can create your personalities based off of this one thought process that you have created. The power of your thoughts becomes this is the depth of the power of your fucking thoughts and everything that you create around your thoughts. So if I'm sitting here creator, I am a creator. In that mindset, I'm a creator. What am I creating for? I'm creating only for the sole purpose to learn and to be the student and the teacher, to acquire more knowledge, to boost my value, to align myself to all that I desire. And it's not on a mindset based on I need this and I want this. See, when you live in both houses, you'll trick yourself in Monday through Wednesday, I'm going to go to work. And that's going to sustain what I need to do on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That's a mindset that most of us get stuck in. And then you'll try to moralize it. The key of your work will be shifting your mind, your mentality to the other house by not getting trapped in the continuous aspects of your time in that space. A lot of us get trapped in the time in that space, thinking about biological clocks, and I wanted to do this when I turned this age, and I wanted to be this by the time this happened. So everything that doesn't happen when it needs to happen, it has to be something else stopping it. Something else has to be stopping me. Something else is fucking me up. Something else is fucking me over. The white man is fucking me up. My baby mother is fucking me up. My baby father is fucking me up. It's my mom's fault that I'm this way. It's my uncle's fault for what he did to me when I was little. It's my family's fault for not being there for me and being supportive for me in a certain space and time for myself. It's their fault, not mine. Now I have to suffer, but it's okay because I'm going to build out of this suffering. But as long as you are suffering and getting things from out of the suffering, you remain tricking yourself in that harmless trap. That harmless trap has you running away and then creating the mindset based on running the fuck away. Getting stuck, feeling alone, falling for the harmless trap of feeling alone. Knowing that you need to be to your fucking self. Knowing that you need to be to your fucking self. Doing the work for your fucking self. You know you need to be to yourself. But you constantly are searching for the distraction or the next distraction. And then you give it a reason. There's no lie. You give it a reason because that's the process of the house you're in. You're always going to give yourself a reason to create something that logically fits the space that you're at. But every time something challenges that, this is the reflective or everything that's challenging you. It's challenging you from the energy of the trauma. Whether directly or indirectly, it's challenging you from the aspect of the trauma. You'll start seeing things a lot differently when you start accepting these things. When I really think about where I'm at now, where I really think about where I'm at now, mentally, where I'm at mentally, where I'm at in my spiritual sense, where I'm at in my emotional sense, where I'm at in my physical sense. All of my aspects are in alignment. There's not a different personality when I'm in my physical space. There's not a different personality when I'm in my emotional space. There's not a different personality when I'm in my mental space, or personalities in my mental space, or different aspects in my mentals. Everything is came into alignment. And that takes work to bring all of this into alignment. Because the more work that you're doing when you're stepping into this space, it's allowing you to bring everything into that space. Everything that I'm doing, everything that you're doing now is lining up. Everything from my crown to my root, where my root is into my darkness, into that tree, and everything that grows up, that grows my crown. Everything's within that harmonious balance of myself, that true unity, that twin flame initiative that is happening within you. I don't have to search for anything. One is always in this aspect of searching for something. The fool searches, the wise seeks. The wise realize that there's nothing for me to seek. The fool is always searching for something. One of your address this one, I was always talking about those personalities that you need to address of yourself. Each one of these aspects have something that they're going to be searching for. Every personality that you create for yourself, whether you're sitting there looking at you look at your natal chart and you look at your zodiac and you're saying, oh, I'm an Aquarius, so I got to act this way, and this way. And then I'm a Leo. I'm going to give my chart. Aquarius is my sun. Leo is my moon. Scorpio is my rising. Every one of these parts have two parts anyway. I remember there was a point in time for myself when I sat there in a space and I was like going so hard on saying, yeah, I'm an Aquarius. So this about it, everything that you can say about an Aquarius, any thought process is being detached, all of these aspects, I was living or existing through the aspects of what I was based on just my personality. So I accredited everything to my personality. So I blamed everything on my personality, never taking in responsibility that these are things that I have to understand in full. Why do I become so attached? Why is my mindset set within detachment at certain points in time? Why do I leave certain situations? Because to fully understand why I was detached, I had to go back. Everything's going to lead you back to your shadow work. So I could sit here and say, in an unhealed manner, I could sit there and say to myself out loud and be like, yo, you know what? You look at your chart and you look at it like, okay, of course it'll be detached. It'll make sense on the human aspect. So everything that happened to me when I was younger, traumas, everything that happened, every event, I'm trying to make it fit within that paradigm. But certain things don't fit within that space. So now I have to shift down and go into my moon, my Leo moon, with all the aspects of being the Leo. And now I'm looking at those aspects in my life. But I'm still stuck within these ciphers. Sometimes I can be this, sometimes I can be that. Why can't I be all of it? Why can I not understand the common point between all of these is me doing this work? This is where you get people that are 45 years old, they're older, some people are actually younger, and they're in that mindset where that becomes their entire mindset, feeling that I'm doing this because this is the process of me cleansing myself and making myself better. I will no longer deal with the negative people in my life. Okay. You'll be doing that fast. You'll be doing that ritual for the rest of your existence in this space. Every time that you're doing something, you should be ushering to another moment. Every fast that I do, every detox that I do has a different set of points that I'm achieving into that fast. Everything that I'm doing, I've become similar when you set your intentions, especially like it's a full moon now. When I'm setting my intentions, they're all based on the next level of the next being, the next body that I'm to become. It's not keeping the same shit the same. I'm not going to set an intention like my family still ain't shit and one day they're going to understand me. Maybe it's not your family. Really understand these aspects. You want your mother to be this, you want your longing and needing for your mother to love you, and that wasn't even your mother. My mother, I got to take care of my mother more than she take care of me. I took care of my mother more than she took care of me. Maybe your mother was your sister, your little sister. Maybe your mother was your daughter in a past life. Did you think about this? And now they're here in this space to learn something from you. This takes you into the aspects of even down to your systematic of how you're parenting, how you're displaying to the youth. Everything changes when you come into this house. This becomes one of the main things that's scary for a lot of people, shifting into their full self, is the fragments of their self from their past that are like, oh my God, what about this, this, and this? And this is where you'll fall into that space of this. You feel a sense of superiority based on what you've taken into your life, based into that space. So like use for the examples of, I know two different types of Moors. I know two different types of Moors. I know two different types of Kemite teachers that from the Kemet scholarship. I know different teachers from the Buddhist aspect. I know different people from the Hindu aspect. I know both aspects of the sex. The ones that I deal with, you would never know outside of the name that they chose at a point in time. You wouldn't even know that they are a Moor. You wouldn't even know what they are because you wouldn't know what they are based on the external aspect, because they have chosen to go further, and that was their stepping stone. When you're in your work, what you're doing now is creating, for some, you're creating your base, how you're going to approach where you're about to go, your purpose, your lineup, how you're going to align your energy to your base, your stepping stone. This is why I don't tell people, like, if you become a Moor, you become whatever it is, use it as a stepping stone. Maybe you need that type of organization in your life to teach you organization and discipline. That's what it's there for, to teach you some type of discipline. What happens to a lot of us when we're in that space is we feel like that's our only point to get any information. Anything that doesn't fit this information has to be wrong, because now I'm stuck based on based on the quantity that I'm receiving from this and what I can get from it. So I drain this. So now I'm stuck with this. My ego needs this to feed that light to stay in existence. It needs this to feed this polarity, not the polarity or this personality to feed my existence within this space. It needs this. I need that to keep my personality going. But then at the end of it, now you're sitting there, you're 40, you're 50, you're 60, you old as fuck, and then all you have is the war stories. All you have is the stories based on war that took you into that space in the beginning. Yeah, I remember when I was in the Black Power movement and I was pro-black, and you're stuck within a space. Because as long as you are on this side, you always have the other extreme. You always gonna have it's that same polarity. This motherfucker that's running around selling drugs and killing people and knocking people off, then killed your mother, and you sitting on the other end looking all sad and shit. He exists because you exist in that same space. That's why you can't get away from it, because you still have things within you that you've laid it out. You hexed yourself. You cursed yourself. I'll never have time. I remember for a point in time in myself, I fucked up so much fucking money for myself at that period of time. I fucked up so much aspects of my money, waiting to try to get other individuals that were in that space of my family to agree to the terms that I set. I needed them. It was a needing and a wanting. I had a longing for this aspect of family, because that I was under the old definition. So I messed up so many. I messed up, or I made decisions based on the level of knowledge that I had in that space. So I was like, okay, cool. I know how to do this. I know how to manage money. I know how to do all of these things. But I never took in accountability the reason why I was able to do all of those things. It came from a negative sense. I no longer wanted to be like the other people in my family at that point in time that were dependent upon the government, dependent upon other people, this sense of dependency. But since I didn't understand their dependency, I became dependent on gaining this information. So the longer that I stayed dependent, the more information that I got. The longer that I stayed dependent, the more money that I got. The longer that I stayed dependent, the more that I was getting things based on the dependency, based on the underlining aspect of my life, the underlining, my base. So the moment that I really could be like, all right, cool, I can sit in my house and just chill. I ain't struggling no more. I ain't feeling oppressed anymore. I ain't doing this anymore. Those thought forms that I created within that space needed something to feed off of. You created these personalities and they sitting at your table. They need something to eat. They're not going to eat happiness because you didn't base them off of happiness. You didn't base them off of the higher aspects of yourself. You based them in the lower aspects. So that's why whenever you sitting there and you in that space and something negative happens to you, you stay in that negative space because it's easier, because that's going to feed you. Because you'll give yourself, you'll think negative and then have negative self-talk to you'll have negative self-talk to one of your personalities that you created into your spectrum. So you're going to be tricking yourself by having that conversation to yourself. Because remember, when you're thinking, you're listening. When you're thinking, you're only listening. What are you listening to? If my mind has only been saturated within negative aspects, fuck niggas and I can't trust people and all this shit, but I'm not getting to the root of why I can't trust people, I'm always going to create a distraction of why I don't trust people. I'm always going to find something to blame so I can still be on the side of the very motherfuckers that I created in the personality that caused the distrust. The first aspects of my distrust. Because based on that first fucking definition, man, that's my friend. Yeah, man, we all fucked up, man. Yo, they were with me when I was at my worst point. I was with them when they were at their worst point. They showed me mad love when I was at my worst point. I showed them mad love when I was at my worst point. That's the type of love that I need in my life. I need someone to love me at my worst. I need someone to love me at my need to love and still need and still care for me at my worst. So now everything that you're doing is based upon this same fucking narrative. You walking around mad at the fucking world, and then you got someone beside you that is partnered with you that is just as wounded, if not more wounded, and you just keep repeating the cycle of being wounded because you thought that's what the fuck life was for you, because that's all you've ever seen. So now you tricking yourself, allowing your ego to run amok and keep you inside of that space. And then you want to talk about your curse. You feel like you've been hexed. You feel like you've been spilled. The only way that a hex works, the only way that a curse works is if the conduits of your personal are put within that curse. When most motherfuckers think about curses, you'll look at something like Rosemary's Baby, or you'll look at some shit like Rosemary's Baby and be like, all I need is a personal belonging of this person. All I need is a picture. Read the aspect when they say all you need is a picture of them. All I need is a picture, personal belonging. All I need is these aspects. That's all I need. And I can create the curse. Think about what you've done into your own life just doing that unconsciously. Remember, it is not the conscious, it's not the traps based upon what you are seeing, it's the traps based upon what you're not understanding of how you keep getting stuck, how you keep going in the same, following the same fucking rut. That's the aspect, because the one that you see, that's just simply the spark, or that's like the detonator to whatever has been hidden in the background. The spark or the fuse, that's the shit that you're seeing out in the light. But in the dark aspect, that's the fuel that's going to cause that shit to explode. So now you sitting there in your space and you're like, man, fuck these tomahoos, and fuck these people, man, and fuck them coon ass niggas. Man, they ain't on our side. They ain't trying to raise up our people. Our people are lost and up. Once again, none of my people are fucking lost. Nobody around me is lost. They all have their levels that they have to accept. But nobody around me is lost. Not in that aspect. Because if there's people around me that are lost, that means in some way, shape, or form, I'm lost somewhere. I'm going the wrong route. Most people, based on that ego trap, will steady go down this road being lost in that thought of trying to save others. Where you can read in every fucking text that says breaks down to save your fucking self. So if I'm saving myself, that means I'm becoming the conduit or the energy on that neural net of my mind to connect to the others that are doing the same work. I could literally sit here right now and be like, I'm going to go to my mom's house and try to save my mother again. It wasn't until I got to a certain point with my mother, for an example, where my mother was like, I would ask my mother when I got into a certain space, I was like, so what do you need to leave? What's stopping you? I wasn't asking questions, getting answers to make me do anything. I was asking questions to bring her into clarity and make her be honest with herself. And you can't do that you can't ask people these questions if you have not been honest with yourself first. That becomes one of those traps. Since now you're all in the light and you all light and peace and shit, now you want to ask motherfuckers questions about, now you want to ask questions that don't even detail to help them break down their shit. And since they're stuck, the reason that you're going to listen to them is because you're still stuck in the following mindset. The triggers and the buzzwords of how you used to deal with shit based on your emotional outcry. That's why they say don't make decisions when you're in the emotional state. How to stop the aspects of the emotional trigger or the environment that is triggering you. Step the fuck away from it. Find humor in it. I remember finding humor in every fucking situation that I was in that was bad when I was little. I remember looking at situations. I remember almost getting in fights. I got in hella fights when I was little. I remember getting in fights, and I remember sitting there. The reason that the fights always ensued is because I was laughing at the person that wanted to fight me at the time. I'd laugh at them. I'd be laughing like, I find this humorous. I find it funny. That would make them more upset. I would laugh more. I've only fight I ever lost is when I got jumped. That was like the only fight I ever lost. But even at that point in time, it was like I was noticing when I can go back into my records of myself and like just start looking at these memories. When you start streaming through your memories, once you've unlocked the aspects and allowed the trauma to actually open yourself up to forgiveness, you start going back to these memories, and then you're going to start noticing a lot of your memories that you created in that personality. Those are false memories to your soul. A lot of the memories that we like to live through are false memories to our soul. Those are the false memories. Those are where your soul got captured. A moment in your time where your soul, what your energy of your soul was high, your energy was so high that it was depleted and captured and crystallized into this space, creating that false memory that now everything reflects through. You created the false personalities, therefore you created the false thoughts, therefore you created the false memories. Those things need to live. So now if you're sitting in a position where you're when you're in a position working on yourself and you're trying to stay in them two fucking spaces, now you're going out and you may not have any problems with yourself directly. You ain't got no man problems. You ain't got no woman problems. You ain't got no issues or whatever. But you find yourself around individuals that have these problems. The reason that you're around these individuals that have these problems on that deeper aspect of the level that is harmless is because within you are aspects of those thoughts. You can tell this when you start reflecting. How are you having conversations with these people? Is it one-sided or are you coming from a space of balance? I remember having conversations with homeboys, my homies, and it'd be about their girls, it'd be about chicks and whatever. And my conversation used to be mad fucking one-sided. It used to be mad fucking one-sided. Like I would always be on their side. Always. Damn near, I'll always be on their side. Homegirls do the same shit. Always be on their side. Because I was trying to keep this peace in the space. I didn't want nothing to blow up. I didn't want nothing to shift. Everything was going good. And this was a part of me being selfish, not selfless. I was being selfish. No. Yeah, I was being selfish with the energy. Instead of allowing it to run over and destroy some shit, make them see something for real, I kept they projected a thought to me, I projected that thought right back to them. So they saw me as, oh, okay, cool. See, that's why I fuck with you. This is why I fuck with you, because you always, man, you always got my back. You always got this. That's why you're so fucking cool, because you agree with me and you make me feel good. And I'm starting to look at myself, but then I'm looking at myself when I'm having these issues with myself and I'm having conversations. I'm noticing that I'm not fulfilled in my conversations. It was a false memory, a false thought process. I allowed that personality to live inside of that space. So when it came time for me to deal with me and do the shit that I needed to do, the healing aspects that I needed to do, those same individuals could not see me for me. The first thing that will always happen is, yo, I ain't never seen you like this. Almost every conversation started like that from their perspective. I ain't never seen you like this. You usually the one keeping us together and all this, and this. So when I'm having that conversation with these individuals, now when it's my turn, this is how deep it gets. Now when it's my turn to need or want something, they cannot provide it to me. Why can they not provide it to you? Because you did not provide the negative and the positive aspects for them to create that space. So now I'm sitting here in this position and I'm having the self-talk with myself, and it's only based off their projection, their perspective. It seemed harmless at the point in time. It seemed harmless. But then I started noticing that for myself, this is when you're reflecting on yourself, you start reflecting and looking at, I feel like I'm repeating this over and over and over again. I feel like I reach this high point for myself, and then I taper off and I fall down into some shit every fucking time. So then you create an entire world where that exists. And now you're lost taking this path to keep everybody around you good for the fear of you not seeing what you need to do. This is your reflection. You playing the trick on yourself, trying to keep your ego together, trying to keep your humanity intact. You need the aspects of the chaos. That's why you'll sit there, and this is the crazy part about it. In you doing this to keep that personality, these personalities that you created living, you're always going to find in movies, TV shows, whatever, you're going to find another personality that is defining the personality that is you, or something that you want to be, to keep you inside of that space. You're always going to try to find something because you're always stuck in needing and wanting. You do not know yourself, so you don't know your own fucking value. If I don't know myself, then I can't create my own fucking value system. I can't create my own moral compass. I can't stand on my own standard. I can't create my boundaries. You worried about what? What are you worried about? What are you really stressing about? Most of your stresses, most of your worries come from you not being honest with your fucking self. Most of your problems come from you not being honest with yourself. Not sitting in that space with yourself and understanding like, damn, I keep fucking up. Why do I keep fucking up? You'll automatically look for other reasons because you don't want to face that space. You don't want to face that dark space of yourself. You'll find the escape. You'll become you're basically overcompensating in another area of your life. And then you need something to feed that. So remember, perfection is not what people think about perfection being everything. Perfection is simply balance. That's the mindset. Perfection is balance. So I can have a bunch of bad shit happen to me. I'm gonna have equal good shit happen. I'm gonna have an equal amount positive shit can happen to me, and I can have an equal amount of negative shit happen to me. That's the balance. But how are these things serving me? See, when you take it from one side or the other, you always look at, if I'm always standing like this, looking at the positive, all this negative shit is piling up behind me. I'm not realizing how I'm staying in balance. I'd be like, man, I don't know why all this, because I'm not looking at this. I'm not looking at the stuff behind me. You'd be surprised. Like, you look at people like, why would you put yourself in a mentality? And then the reason that we can't see it is because it's not, people lock themselves into this mentality of based upon needing and wanting. They don't want me. They don't need me. Therefore, I got to create a need and a want for something. I got to create my definition for needing and wanting. And it comes rooted upon what you value about yourself into that space. So if I don't value me, using the aspect of me valuing myself, everything that I do reinforces the value that I have within myself, the love, the honesty, the transparency that I have within myself. So everything that I do is naturally in this space, and I'm not looking at either side like, oh, this motherfucker ain't gonna like me or this motherfucker gonna hate me. I'm not looking. I don't care. I know that's needed for the hate on this aspect, the love on this aspect. That's all to keep it in the balance. I'm the middle point. So I know there's going to be an equal amount of hate. There's going to be equal amount of people that love what the fuck I'm saying or love what the fuck I'm doing. Yeah. Is that bullshit? 1 second. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Exactly. Yes. You have to understand that your compatibility, where you're at mentally, where you're at mentally in your balance of your emotional account. All of this is done based upon you and nobody else. But you have to come from this space. Like last week we ended on the aspects of marrying yourself, bringing yourself into that unity. When I did Cosmic Sutra, the Cosmic Sutra lecture, I got into the aspects of twin flames and karmic flames and all these aspects. Your soulmate, all of these aspects of you. We'll sit here and we'll put ourselves into a space and look for cafe astrology and all of these definitions like, I'm looking for my soulmate because my soulmate gonna make me happy. You're your soulmate. Bringing your soul together, that soul integration, that's you finding your soulmate. Everything that reflections in these karmic flames that happen to you in your life, they're teaching you about what you're compatible with, what you're able to compromise. They're giving you 7th house values. They're giving you the 7th house values for yourself, where you're at in your life and what you need to be doing. Everything that I do for me is primarily for me to further cultivate the twin flame relationship that is the unity of myself, my masculine and my feminine aspects. Understanding healing, the healing process is understanding and healing the wounded masculine aspects of myself and going through the process of healing the wounded feminine aspects of myself. Because until I do this, my wounded masculine is only going to attract wounded feminine energy. My wounded feminine is only going to attract that is of the wounded feminine, the wounded masculine energy. And we're talking about the aspects of the energy that you come into. So I'm talking about friends. I'm talking about friends, the family members that you try to sustain shit with. You're going to keep attracting these aspects and feeling like you're being weighted down. Mm-hmm. And then you're wondering, like, I can't find nobody that love me or want to do the things and all this shit. Stop looking for others to do the shit that you want to do. Ashe. Stop looking for the motherfuckers that are doing that you want to do what you do. Stop looking for them. Cultivate yourself into doing what you do, and everything's going to fall in. It's all about you falling into the alignment. Stop looking, and when you're looking based on time, the craziest thing about time and space just came on. The craziest thing about time and space. Whoa, wait, time out. Whoa, on my light. It got really dark for a second. There it is. Do. Oh, we back. All right. Turn that down. All right. The craziest thing about the aspects when you creating your space, time and space, you were giving a time and a space in a continuous motion. So when I think about the aspects of my time and my space, I think about my universe, I think about my world. I think about the greater aspects of the reflection of me being inside of my world. This is my world, this is my universe. In my world and in my universe, everything that you're looking at outside of you, from there's asteroid belts and there's debris, that's old memories, that's trash DNA, that's all of these aspects. Late, but you always on time. So I'm sitting in my space and I'm like, let me look at meteorites, and because this is when I started studying like the more intense stones and crystals, like my what the fuck's the name of that shit? Moldavite. When I really started looking at Moldavite and I looked at its properties, I really started studying the properties of Moldavite and seeing how it responded to me and what it did. This is your studying, not grabbing a crystal because they say this is my labradite, psychic abilities and aspects like that. Psyche. So this helps me heal aspects of my psyche. This is how I program this stone to heal the aspects of my psyche, clear the aspects of my psyche. So when I put it on, I'm not expecting, nigga, I turned invisible or I can read minds. No. Yes. Actually, yes. You motherfucker, you can read minds. Guess what minds you're going to be reading first? The minds of your personalities. This is your building the aspects of your confidence in your shit. This is why I can say, if you are open to us, if you open to that degree for yourself, everything's going to work for you. If it's only based on your, this when we tell you like your intention is only going to be based on what has your attention. So what has your attention is not giving you confidence, then you're not going to be confident in setting your spell. You're not going to be confident in setting your tone. So if I'm sitting in my space and I'm growing in my space, I'm doing shit in my space and my shit's doing what the fuck it's supposed to be doing, I'm grateful. I'm gracious. Every time that I rise and I get up, I'm always in a grateful position. Why? Because I created everything that reflects my grateful position. Anything that's not into the equates to this, that is not a part of this. It's not a part of my position in myself, primarily for myself first. It will be dealt with on the time of it's stuck in an aspect of time. When you come into this space, your spiritual self, your full spiritual body, you're understanding the balances of your light and your dark. You're healing yourself. There are no levels. It's only the frequencies that you're invoking. It's the frequencies that you coming online with. See, when you in the humanity aspect, humanity is built off of levels. Everything within humanity was built off subjects and levels. That's not natural to us. We're the ones that this bottle of water, if we were to learn about this bottle of water, if I wanted to learn about this bottle of water, I'm taking a trip to the French Alps. I want to go to where the water is at. This goes into the aspect of what you naturally do this shit unconsciously. You naturally do it unconsciously. But it's coming from a wounded aspect of yourself. That's why you're doing it. Even the way you challenge shit. I want to know where you were and this, and this. Yo, why didn't you answer your phone? You're doing shit unconsciously, but it's coming from a wounded aspect. Because me being in my healed position, like if there's days at a time where I don't like today. Today was an example for me. I was on Facebook, but one or two times. Yeah. I was on Facebook a couple of times. I was on Instagram, and it was simply to do business and get out. Get in, get out, get in and out. I was on my A shit. I was in and I was out. That was it. I wasn't looking for anything. I'm not searching for anything. I'm not doing that. But that takes a level of healing for yourself to stop looking for things to connect to, or what your connection is going to happen naturally. You're looking for things to attach to. So you're going to start doing things for a reason based upon needs and wants to serve the urges of your needs and wants. So just like in that same space, you can do something super fucked up to somebody to try to get a reaction out of them. You'll try to do something to try to get a reaction out of them. Because you trapped in your ego, trap, and you're stuck in an ego trap, you're stuck in your cage, you don't even realize that you're inside of your cage, so now you want everybody to come into your cage. This is when you start looking. Yeah. Exactly. Just to justify that shit outside of yourself. Now you want to look at people, man, fuck them people over there, they're not me, they don't fuck, I don't care. I understand there's levels to this balance shit for myself. I understand that there's levels to this balance shit for myself. I understand that for me to be where I'm at, there's gonna be motherfuckers that are not going. For every point that I get to for myself, I understand that there's motherfuckers that are not going to agree with me going there. I understand this, but I'm not going to spend my time acknowledging their trap or they're trapped somewhere, because then they acknowledge that I'm trapped somewhere. Because the only way that the trap exists, the only way that they're trapped, or if I become trapped and I notice they're trapped, is because I must be in some type of trap. This is coming from the aspect of me arguing with them. I'm gonna argue with them. They don't know what I am. They don't understand. They don't know what the fuck I am. I went into Food Line yesterday. I went to the Food Line yesterday up the street. And there was a cashier that I used to work with at my old job. And I'm sitting there and I'm waiting for the line. The line's long as fuck. I'm standing there, I'm looking at her, and I'm like, remembering, going through the aspects of the memories that I remember with her. Rang my stuff up and left. I remember being in spaces where I would be directly in front of people, like directly in front of motherfuckers. Right there. Like I'm standing right here and they standing on the other end of the aisle. And they can see me. They can see me, but they can't see. They can see me, but they can't visualize me. Because I don't look the same. My energy is different. When you start unlocking your aspects of your gifts, you're going to start noticing the reality of people in their real essence of themselves, because you're in your true essence. So people are going to start looking more tired if they're tired. You're going to start seeing their energy or their aura. I remember when I was like 7, 8 years old, and shit used to trip me out. It was like the only way I can like bring it into a literal sense of visualization before I tell the story is, remember that scene on Constantine when he's sitting on the bus and he see the old lady, and the old lady turn around and he see her real face, and then she behind him scared the shit out of his ass. That's what the fuck it was like for me when I was like 8 or 9 years old. I remember being in elementary school, always in the fucking office, talking to the counselors and shit, always in there with the counselors because I was seeing shit that I couldn't explain. And this was a part of the aspect of myself being in a suppressive space. So as my ego was coming online, as my ego was becoming strong and creating this mask for me to look through, a lot of my abilities became suppressed. My ability to see messages, like to see the subliminal effects of a cartoon, the reason, like between 1 and 3, ages 1 and 4, for me, I remember I would always watch cartoons. Always. I would always watch cartoons. You cannot see, I could not be sitting in front of, I didn't watch cartoons. I wasn't watching TV on that level of that manner. I was only watching commercials. I remember going through a meditation for myself, and I asked myself the question because I wanted to know. I was like, why do I only look at commercials? I was like, why was I only looking at commercials? And I remember sitting there with my 1-year-old self, my 1 and 2-year-old self. I remember sitting there beside them, like he held his hand out, had my hand, and he walked me in front of the television. We sitting there watching the TV, and I'm looking at the subliminals in the commercial. The commercial is playing, and there's captions under the commercial. There's like captions of the commercial, but it wasn't matching what they were saying in the commercial. The captions were the subliminal aspect that I was seeing inside of the commercial at that age. So I'm listening. So like I'm looking at it and I'm listening, but I'm not listening. I'm listening to try to find an answer. But then I stop and I'm looking at myself, my younger self sitting there, and he's having the whole conversation. He's saying the caption. So I'm looking at him saying the caption. And I'm like, that's what I was doing? And then he looked at me and said, yeah. And then I remember coming out of that meditation like, the fuck did I just experience? That's what I've been doing this entire time? Speaking based in the subliminals? Stuck within, I was understanding this shit when I was here. And the more and more I kept doing this shit, I was like, nigga, I never knew that. I never thought about it like that. I never moved in that space for myself. Like, nigga, I've been doing this. I remember there was points in time. I remember I did another meditation going back into myself, reflective. I ended up going to sleep that time. And I remember I had a whole aspect of a dream, that profound dream to myself, where I was sitting there in the space when I was 1 year old. And I remember sitting in the walker, just bouncing in the walker out there. The sun was out. It was early in the day, earlier, like probably like 7, 8. My pops was over there cutting the grass on the other side of the yard or whatever. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm looking at the dragonfly. I'm playing with dragonflies and butterflies, all the fucking shit floating around me. I went back into this space. I was like, what the fuck am I really looking at? Why am I smiling so hard? Like, my mom would give me stories talking about, like, you were always this happy outside. You would cry if I didn't let you go outside at this specific. My mom kept telling me the same time. It was like, it was always 7 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning. Me not even realize, this is before even understanding what angel numbers and shit were. I was like, these are these points that are coming out for you to actually start remembering shit. But you have to go through the aspect that trauma initiates that spark for you to see it. So I'm sitting there like, I remember just sitting there going back into this aspect of my memory. And I'm accessing this memory from the truest point. I'm like, nigga, that wasn't a dragonfly, nigga, that was a fairy. That was a water nymph. That was, nigga, why didn't I believe in these things? Why didn't I think that these things weren't real? And I started this led to more questions. When you're not going for the fucking answer, it's always going to lead to every question is going to lead to another fucking question. Always. Because it's going to you're teaching yourself not to settle for anything less than your value. This is also helping you at the same time with this catalyst of me doing this and now teaching or now doing whole sessions with this aspect. Now it's like I'm not doing it based on answers because the answers are already there based on the level that I'm at. I remember going to a point in time where my mother was wearing a purple shirt and it was like March 16th, 1997. Why did this date pop up out of fucking nowhere? My mother was wearing a purple shirt at this point in time. All right, she's wearing a purple shirt. Purple represents the crown chakra. What did she say in this moment? What did she do in this moment? This is shadow work. That's your shadow work. This is unlocking your gift. This is not getting stuck within the tricks of what was there. Most motherfuckers are still stuck in this mindset of, yo, we got to protest. And the one thing that blew my fucking mind about this entire fucking election was when motherfuckers were like, our people, our ancestors died for our right to vote. No, the fuck they didn't. And they were very much alike for you to stop saying that shit. I'm going to go on record saying that. They were very much like for you to stop saying that dumb bullshit. The reason some did, and they stuck and they came back down. But the ones that have ushered on, they're in the mindset of, nigga, we did it so you can hide in plain sight. We did it to build your foundation and your base to hide in plain sight. So you sitting here thinking that your ancestors are doing this shit for you to stay here. They're not doing shit for you to stay the fuck here. You keep going to that fucking light. When you going in your dreams, you keep going to that fucking light where you got motherfuckers saying, come to us. Come to us. Looking like Dave Chappelle in the fucking Dave Chappelle skit when he was Rick James. You keep coming back to the same fucking shit. When you in your dream, the next time you in your dream and you see an aspect of yourself, but it's the dark version of yourself, go talk to him. The next time you see something that's mad, go talk to it. Go have a conversation with it. It's going to give you more profound information than than certain aspects that are coming to you talking about that's your family, baby. You gotta know. My grandmother being unlocked for so many times and is ushered on, she looked and she was like, there was a reason that your aunt, she told me about my aunt, one of my aunts. One of my aunts started at a community college, and then when she went to the main college there, and then as soon as she got her degree, she moved to the other side of the fucking state. Everybody looked at her like, why the fuck she thinks she too good for us and this and this. No, she was surrounding herself with like-minded individuals. Whether she consciously or unconsciously knew it, she was surrounding herself by individuals that were within that space. Now, I can tell that she was doing it unconsciously because every day, every other holiday, and every other day, she would come down here for certain holidays and certain events. Yeah. She was sitting there within that space, and she was like, you know what? I ain't got to go back over there no more. I don't know the last time that my aunt came down here. Every time my aunt came down, she was like just dumping stuff off. She would just dump stuff off, like her old car, gave it to this person, shoot. She was just giving away shit. And then she would leave and come, she would go back to her space. This is the mindset that you're going to be. This is the mindset of you going into. That was came one of the examples for myself is like when you are unifying when you're bringing yourself into that balanced space, understanding to allow that fire to burn up. And it's very important for that fire your shit to start rising. You're going to feel everything come up. You're going to feel everything that you ever went through is going to come up when you're sitting in this space by yourself. And whenever I take somebody through the session and everything starts coming up, but I was feeling, I felt despair and I felt this and I felt this and I feel it. I felt extremely hot one time, then I felt extremely cold, feel it. You need all of that energy to be encompassing to take you to the next level. See, most of the times when we come into that space, when we start feeling that type of way, we want to dump it off. We feel that energy now. We want to go dump that shit off. I'm gonna get this energy off real quick. So you never give it time to cultivate. White Tigress Manual. White Tigress Manual. One of my favorite quotes from the White Tigress Manual. I posted it today on my page. One of my favorite quotes from the White Tigress Manual. Creating this spiritual fetus is like undergoing a metamorphosis from mortality to immortality, or like going from blindness to sight. In every sense, it is like a spiritual pregnancy, whereupon she gives birth to the spiritual fetus within herself, much like a caterpillar shedding its cocoon and emerging as a butterfly. Now take this aspect into yourself. Peace. Now take this aspect into yourself. When we read things, this is one of the most important aspects. When you're reading shit, you're reading it as yourself. You're reading it as a part of yourself. So if I sat here and I need a book. So, for example, me having this book, very great book. Me reading this book the first time, I read it like the first time I ever read this book. I read this book like back in like damn near college. I read this fucking book and I was like, man, this ain't got shit to do with me. I read this book. I said, this shit ain't got shit to do with me. But then I came to a point where my baby girl, Kylie, came into the picture. I interfere with this. I interface with spirits way different than some people. Somebody got upset with me when I had a conversation. They had a conversation with me, but it was like a pre-consult. They had a conversation with me and they were like, so how do you honor the Orishas and certain spirits? I said at first, I would build the altar to them and do certain aspects, but then I started looking at myself differently. I was like, if I'm one of them, that is my energy, and I want to interface with it, I have to understand that I have to become the masculine aspect of whatever counterpart to that energy. So I remember at certain points of time when I feeling the feeling of getting kissed on the head by Oya, getting kissed on the head by Oshun, or getting kissed on the head by Kali with flaming lips or whatever. All these images that were coming to me in my dreams and shit. I remember going through that process, and I remember being like, what the fuck is going on? But then as I started getting higher in my works, those kisses started getting lower. So I remember the first time Kali kissed me on my lips, and then I remember like I was beside a lake, a fountain, and I looked in and nigga, I'm Shiva. Now at this point in time, before I could not be, I remember trying everything on the planet to become Shiva. I was doing everything in the nigga, I want to be Shiva to do this because I was approaching it the wrong way. I was Shiva. That's the reason Kali kept coming to me, because I am the Shiva archetype of energy. So it came to me in the aspect of as my confidence level rose, that's when it started changing me. when you coming into this space for yourself, when you coming into this space for yourself, you pieces of shit. When you coming into this space for yourself, when you coming into this space, all the limits are falling away. There's no more limits. Your mind is only going to go as far as you allow it to stretch. Your mind is only going as far as you allow it to stretch, based on your level of understanding, based on where you are at. So how it's going to come to you may be totally different than how it comes to me. It's all based on the level of work that you're putting into yourself. But you got to go through this process. For most people, if you're scared, if you're in a scary position inside of yourself, then yes, you're going to be sitting there and be like, oh my God, I don't want to do this part. I can't do this part. I can't see this part happening. Okay, cool. That's where your energy, this is where your energy stops off at. Because it's naturally going to bring up your spiritual mirror. Your spiritual mirror, what's at your head will be at your feet. A good thing when you read this aspect of like this book in particular, you'll understand that there's something at your head and something at your feet. There's your higher aspect and your lower aspect. The feminine aspect will always be at your feet because it provides guidance. The masculine aspect is always on your head, which provides your thought, your train of thought. Your mindset is to be aligning these two to bring the feminine guidance up. So you're now thinking in this manner and you're now rooting the new thoughts. You're literally creating this scan of yourself and bringing yourself into the balance. This is when you start understanding, this is when you get deeper into the aspects of understanding that the orishas are the different points of energies within your body. Your zodiac signs are different aspects of points in your body. This is when you study the mudras. They're the different aspects of you of activating that energy within your body. But you're not going to have to keep doing this. The key is not to have to keep doing this, to keep throwing up the signs for yourself to fucking activate it. You're doing this in the physical sense. So as you're doing, so when you're going into that space, now that you know the symbols to activate your energy in that space, and you've done the work, what comes up when you do this? So it's because if I want to think about my peace and my health, everything unhealthy is going to come up first. Everything's going to come up first. Everything healthy is going to come up first. Unhealthy is going to come up first. Everything in your mindset is like, every time I do it, I get anxiety. Every time I do it, I get this, because you're expecting something to happen that has not. You're expecting the positive to come before the negative. The negative must come before your positive to acquire that aspect of that charge. That's why the negative is so easy for you to go to. But if you're having negative thoughts, and then you go around negative individuals, if you're having the negative thoughts and you're going around negative individuals, guess what happens? Any sense of building is canceled out. This is why, for most people, when you going around them negative ass friends, those negative ass people in your life, and you keep talking about negative things, or you're sitting there holding to yourself, you go through this process of yourself of since you're still trying to acquire energy, you have to learn how to charge yourself. You'll go into a space that's negative and you'll say something negative, and then you wonder why, okay, now it's time for you to leave. Because your energy is naturally your body's telling you, okay, now it's time to leave. I no longer need no more of this energy. So when you go into a position and you're thinking on a positive on that same frequency, even when you're thinking on a positive of that same frequency, that means you have created a thought to give that shit life. And you sitting in that space like this, and you sitting there like, every time I go over there, like I drink mad heavy or I eat mad heavy. I'm eating shit I ain't supposed to eat. I'm doing shit I ain't supposed to be doing. And then the next day I'm paying for it. Your body's telling you that it's not you. You going over there, then you go somewhere, and you spend the next 12 hours laid out in the bed, sleep. Your body is sick. Your body is literally trying to recuperate. All of that shit all of that energy that you allowed to go into your space is now putting you in a shutdown mode. Stop trying to go get the sage, and I'm gonna sage myself. I'm gonna sage myself, and I'll be okay, because it's not working. Because it does no good if you're going back into the space. Because this neutralizes your energy, it brings you to a humble state. But if my mindset's not in a humble space, it's not in a pure thought, it's not in a pure thought of space, pure and perfect space, which means it's in a balanced space. It doesn't matter how much sage that I use. It doesn't matter how much Palo Santo that I spell around myself. If I'm not in a space, if I keep going into the space, I'm changing the polarity of the space. So I've created what I'm dispelling that is supposed to be negative. I have not created the boundary, so it must be positive. So the sage doesn't work on that shit. It's not gonna work. If I'm gonna keep going over. I'm gonna keep doing this. I tell motherfuckers, check your hunger levels. 1 second. Ooh, as we microphone. Sorry about that big ass stud. The microphone sitting over there. Yeah. But you sitting there in that space with yourself, and you wondering why the shit that you're wanting to happen for you isn't happening for you yet. Is because what are you feeding it? What are you feeding that energy? What are you feeding your intention? What are you giving what are you submitting yourself? What are you submitting to? What are you sacrificing to make that shit come into the light? Because it takes aspects of sacrifice. This is where when motherfuckers were studying from the exoteric aspect of doing sacrifices, and they were like, "Oh yeah, what we're gonna do is sacrifice people, eat some people, and be cannibals and shit." So they became the degenerative sense became lowered. Lowered. The degenerative mindset was like cannibalism, go eat some people. So we're making these sacrifices. So that's what you're seeing now. It's always going to be based on sacrificing your humanity. Sacrifice. I had to sacrifice parts of my humanity for my inner child to actually flourish. I had to sacrifice these parts of myself as much as because what I'm sacrificing is based on needing want. I no longer need or want. I no longer want to be stuck within that aspect of, yes, exactly, as above to below. I no longer want to be in this below space of need and want. So let me make this sacrifice. Let me understand what my sacrifices are for myself, not for anybody else in that space. You're not doing these. One thing that my pops told me that stuck with me was like, it doesn't matter what you're doing. You're not doing it. The life that you're leading and the life that I'm leading, I can't go to the higher power and say, hey, he's with me. My pop's always telling me this. He's with me. It's all based upon your work and what you're doing. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. We can hang out every single fucking day. I don't like hanging out with people that much. We can hang out every single day. We can have conversations every single day. We can do this shit every single day. But then I'm sitting there looking like you're naturally As you start removing those glamours and those projections that you're putting on individuals, you're going to start seeing them as what they are. The more and more you start taking away the projection, the way you start taking away the expectation, when you're taking away these expectations and you're peeling back these layers off of these individuals, these places, these things, when you start removing these things, you're going to start seeing these things for exactly what they are. They really don't like the lights even more. The lights mad fucking dim. You're going to start seeing individuals like in the way that they're dressing based on their you're looking at the way that they're dressing based on their person, like trying to remain what personality they're trying to keep intact. You're going to start look like, I remember I was looking at pictures the other day. I was looking at pictures of myself the other day, and I was looking at the pictures of myself, and I remember I was going through my detoxes. I was tracking I was just tracking it at that point. And I was looking at the pictures of my old self. And I'm like, yo, my shit was mad fucking bright. My light was mad fucking bright. When I was and these were some of my most heart-wrenching times of being in a space of going through a detox and going through my fast and going through the separation process. The elevation requires the separation. So I'm like, but I never see, I look back at the picture like, nigga, I'm sitting there fucking pure fucking light. Like I'm glowing. You feel me? I'm in a glowing state. I remember there was times when I would go to, and I would go back to these times. I remember going back to I remember one time I went back to one of my old jobs, and I was like, yeah, I'm working over here now. And one of the hostesses at my old jobs, her father was a god in earth. So I remember having conversations with her, and I remember meeting her pops one time when he came up to the joint. She was like, yo, your energy looked mad different, like you in your glowing, like I can tell that you were dissipated within this space. That was my reinforcement. It wasn't for me to be like, hell yeah, did that. That was reinforcement because it went into the subconscious. I forgot about it. Like a couple days later, I didn't even think about what the hell she said because it was only reinforcing what I was already doing. So I'm looking at when you're going through your process, the darker that you're becoming, the more lighter that you're becoming. Because in the darkness is the aspect of that light. And the darker that I was becoming, the more lighter I was becoming. My light was being recultivated in that space for myself. I'm like, nigga, I ain't never felt this way before. I ain't never felt this type of strength or felt this type of energy to myself. But then the things that I wasn't dealing with, that's where the traps were coming in. So these traps were coming in naturally on cue. Some people realize the trap and then they learn the trap, break the trap down. They break the trap, break the spell, and they actually can use it for their next going forward. Some people get stuck within these traps, these lock-offs, and they get stuck within aspects of their ego. That's the ego trap. That's when your ego gets trapped. Your ego is like, okay, cool, I'm going to protect you from everything else. This is where we need to stay at. You are going to be pushing your ego to the point of extinction because this is the aspect of when you're destroying everything. Everything needs to be destroyed because until it's destroyed, you cannot rise from the ashes like a phoenix. You can't rise from the fire. You can't use it to build something new because most of us we come into when you come into that spiritual space, alhamdulillah, la 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 la, and all that shit, which it works, but you're using it as another crutch. You're using it as another aspect of a mask. Yes. You're using it as another mask. You're using it as another crutch. So now instead of me sitting here and watching TV for 8 hours of a day, instead of me watching TV for 4 times out the day, now I'm going to sit here and try to cram 4 books into my day because I don't have an understanding of discipline. I'm thinking discipline is based upon let me suffer reading this amount of books, that equates to me watching the television because your mind is stuck within that harmless trap. Because now I can sit here and say I read 8 books. Now I can sit here and say I read 9 books. Yeah, you just locked yourself into another space. You religion means to bind. So you just binded yourself to another state of thought. Not understanding why the only reason that space exists is because that space exists. So because that's that trickling down. As it comes lower down to this vibration, down to this frequency that is now below you, you start to see it for what it acts like. Damn, that's what that is. That's what that is down there. That's why I had to go through it. That's your forgiving process. That's why I had to go through this. Because without this, I couldn't understand this part over here. I couldn't bring myself into balance with this space that I'm in now. I couldn't do this yet. Instead of trying to bring that energy down to this, stop trying to bring these things down here to make it make sense down here. This is 2 different hemispheres, 2 different houses. That's the 2 houses, the 2 hemispheres. Turn your head to the side. Turn your head to the side, and I promise that you'll see it. Up here, down here is everything that's based on kinetic, based on everything the way it was. Everything up here is your greatest fucking potential. Higher and lower. Higher and lower. That's why the mastering of yourself is mastering what you used to coagulate in order to congeal in your higher self. That's why everything down here congeal, everything down here coagulates, everything that goes down coagulates, and everything up here. No, everything down here congeals and everything up here coagulates. Go look at that picture of your Baphomet that you don't like so fucking much. Go look at that picture of that Baphomet that you don't like so much. Go look at a picture of Buddha and look at their hand poses. Go look at the picture of Ganesh and look at their hand poses. Even go look at a Kali. Look at their poses of their hands. Really study the effects of what's in each one of their hands. This is you understanding that symbolism of what it means. Because that beautiful lotus flower that's in the goddess mother Dudra's hand, it came from the fucking mud. It came from the fertilizing or cultivating that mud and understanding to make it so it could actually grow something within it. Most of you are stuck in that space. Some of us get stuck in that space where it's like, I don't know what I'm going to do after this. Build it. Build it. One of the big problems for a lot of people is when you're coming into this space and you don't know what to build next. You don't know what to build first. Because now this is where people also get stuck in their ego traps. Some, not all. Some people get stuck in those ego traps. And now that they are predisposed as healers, they say that they're healers. They can read cards. They can read some shit with people. And now they're giving information. They're still bringing it from a broken space. So you can go to one chick, you can go to a chick, dude, whatever, and they can read your cards, but they're only going to give you energy. They only can take the energy as far as they can't give you anything profound. They only can give you the present or the past. They cannot give you aspects into the future tense of what you need to do to go into the future tense, because that's open in honesty. You want somebody a true healer is going to hurt your feelings. As me being, I'm here to hurt your feelings. I'm sorry, not really sorry. I'm here to hurt your feelings. I'm here to scar I'm here to scar your humanity, because this is your initiation process. I'm here to scar your humanity to a point to where it doesn't matter anymore. The scars and the marks that are on my physical body. It doesn't matter, because each one of these scars has a significant reason. Each one of these burns have a significant reason, i.e., go back to your fucking trauma. That kid, that girl, that that kid that got burnt by cigarettes by their dad, they have a purpose. Each one of them burns and those marks, if they really look at the marks and the burns on their body and look at the symbolism, when they really look at the symbolism on their body and they're like, oh shit, I never even thought about this until I never really look at the symbolism on your body. I remember watching an episode of House. I remember watching an episode of House. And it was the episode when the dude he was murdering. At the end of it, you found out he was a murderer. He was eating the victims. But on his back, he had cigarette marks on his back. And like I remember one time I'm sitting there and I'm watching. I don't know why I was watching House that day because I was watching on my fucking I was like, pause. I'm looking at the marks on his back and they were the Big Dipper. I don't know why the fuck I'm sitting there watching House. I was watching House, and at the same time, I remember what I was doing. I was watching House, and I was reading my book on Gnosis. So House is playing in the background. So I'm reading my book. I'm reading my book, The Gnosis, for one of the main Gnostic texts, and I'm reading it, and it was talking about the North Pole and the serpent. If y'all have seen the Panic Lecture, the answers to that book, the Isis thesis, are within that book. So I'm like, why am I watching this? The Big Dipper's on this nigga back, and why is it talking about it in this book at the same time? My world is literally in direct alignment in that space. It's not based on I need somebody to tell me some shit or this nature, that narrative. Anything that's coming to me based at this frequency, based on where I'm at, I'm confident that it's information that is going to show me something and teach me something, or it's not going to be there. So I'm having like major fucking deja vu moments. My deja vu moments are fucking crazy as fuck anyway. I'm having whole fucking moments where like I'm standing there in the middle of the living room like, why do I feel like I've already seen this shit? Down to the detail of conversations and what I'm doing and what I've seen, they're sparking faster. Yeah. But you have to get into that aspect for yourself and understanding that in order to get to that point, to get out of this trap of I made mistakes. You did not make mistakes. It was only based on the level of information that you had at that point in time. There's no such thing as mistakes. There's no such thing as mistakes. There's only decisions made based on the amount of information that you obtained and you applied. So there's no such thing as losses and there's no such thing as wins, because every win is based on the applied mechanics that you got from the losses based on the direct losses of yourself or the experiences that you saw from other individuals. This is you becoming the observer. If I'm not looking into a space, if I'm only going into a space to get a feeling, to feel good, to escape from something, my mindset's stuck on escape. My mindset is stuck on flight. So if my mindset is stuck on that flight mentality, then I can't observe the things that are fighting for my attention. I can't see the things that are fighting for my attention because my mind's stuck on flight. My mind's stuck on I can't get that. My mind's stuck. Most motherfuckers don't realize when you go into certain situations and it can be the most horrible situation of your life. What did it teach you? But did you die? 1 second. Side note, I know why Brother Phil, the great elder Brother Phil, wore hats and always had a hat on his head. That's my interpretation. Because the amount of heat that is generated when you inside of this space is fucking crazy. I'm like sweaty as fuck. Y'all can't see the sweat, but like I'm sweating and shit, like to that space. But that's a whole other side note. But did you die? What did you learn? I remember watching a Bobby Hemmett video, and he was actually talking about ego traps, and he was talking about Linda, and the dude got mad. Like the dude said she had to like dress down to go into spaces because like she was on her energy was that high, so she had to like dress in a mundane manner to be inside of that space. And he said, "What the fuck you getting mad for?" She would like, the dude asked for a drink. He said, "Shit, give me a drink too." That's the mindset that you going in. I remember somebody, this was a while back, they were like, "I can't get into Bobby Hemmett because he said something about cheating or some other shit like that." I was like, so I seen that lecture. I was like, so that out of that whole lecture, that's the only thing you took from it? I can't really get with him because he said something about cheating and all this aspect. So you missed the whole entire point of him telling you that aspect. Get out of your fucking feelings. You got one or two choices. What did you learn? What did you learn? Most people get into that space. Yeah. If you inside of that space with yourself and you still thinking on this one side or the other, you have not mastered the aspect of your value. You still base your value on something external. You still trying to base your little value, your value on something external, on a material feature. I gave him this. There's no amount of money. There's no amount of food, sex, none of this shit that is going to give me the absolute feeling, the absolute beauty of being able to wake up and go to bed and literally in my setting to be able to just sit there and just download all fucking day. I'm sitting there looking like a fucking supercomputer while watching fucking TV, watching random shit or reading random shit. Just sitting there in that space. But that's because my energy no longer goes down to this level. This is when you're changing this is when your frequency is changed. When you're noticing that the stuff down here, this is the aspect when you look into the Bible and he was talking about he's standing on the mountaintop and Satan come talk to him and say, "I'll give you all the riches of the earth. I give you all the power. I give you all the money. I give you all the places on the earth." And you say you don't need it. I'm about my shit up here. That's your energy where you at. You putting yourself in a space and you like, nigga, I don't even care anymore. Like, okay. You stop settling. Motherfuckers speak on this aspect. I'm not going to settle for anything less than I deserve. What do you deserve? What is your building aspect in what you deserve? Because everything that you are deserving and you are going to receive is going to be based on what's in that cup. You are the chick or the dude in the middle of the club trying to hold that fucking bottle or that little cup with your drink in it, and you keep getting knocked around. Meanwhile, there's the niggas over there that paid the extra money and did the extra work, and they over there in the VIP section, and niggas walking through the club with the sparklers. The bottle girls walking through the club with the sparklers, bringing them their drinks. Which one are you? In that house, you sitting over there hoping that you're going to get a drink. And in this house, everything is flourishing because you in alignment with your shit. You ain't looking at motherfuckers like, "Oh, these niggas over here." I ain't worried about that shit. Fuck that. Why? Man, yeah. And this is you. This is the aspect of you bringing yourself into unity with yourself. You're simply going to be able to state your claim, state what the fuck you're doing, and you can stand by it confidently without it being in this. That's that thin line between being stuck in that trap and going into the aspect of actually understanding it. When you stuck within that trap, you're only going to be able to give enough information. You're only going to give enough information to get other motherfuckers in that trap with you to agree with this aspect. I don't want you to agree or disagree. I don't care. But you will get the information. I'm a fuck, like, my whole aspect, my whole entire build of what I do is based on being the trickster god that I am. Being the Papa Legba, being being the archetypes of the Legbas, being the archetypes of the Somni energy, being the aspects of the devil, the trickster god energy, the pan energy, and all of these other energies. I just realized that I came into pan energy a couple months ago. Coming into that space, I'm a trickster. I'm a trickster by the fucking nature. But it's not on that, it's not on that lower aspect when I'm trying to trick you to stay somewhere. My shit is going to be on the aspect of, like, if you listen to the podcast, you look at the title of the podcast, everything that I've done around that title of that podcast, that is a part of that spell to bring you into that space. To take your whole mind to a whole different definition of thought. Because you're not going to receive this information similar to, like, when you read in the Bible, these are allegories or put together. That means they're not literal. They're not stuck in that sense. You got to come out of that. You got to come out of that. You got to come to this side over here and let's dance over here. Most people are scared to come into the feminine aspect of themselves because they haven't healed those aspects. Those shits are still fragmented. So even when they do go into the feminine aspect, they always go for the pretty version of the deity, the feminine deities. They ain't going to tell you about the murky, muddy water ocean. They're not going to tell you about not the pretty ass fuck. They're not going to tell you about the pretty. They're not going to tell you about go play God of War. They're not going to tell you about the Gorgon Medusa, the big one. They're going to tell you about the one that's all pretty and shit. Because that's only a reflection of their wounded feminine aspect. When you look at the prettier version of the goddesses and the prettier version of the gods in this mythos, and they show you the prettier version, that's the wounded aspect. Because it's worried about, the wounded aspect is worried about what? Its image. The beautiful aspect is worried about its image, its stance, its status, what it looks like. But the ones that are really doing that aspect of their work, I can care less because that naturally is going to happen anyway. My light is my light is naturally going to curve me into what the fuck I need to be looking like anyway. So that's a side thought. That's not primarily what I'm on. So I literally don't worry or think about, nigga, man, maybe I should shave or maybe I should do this. The only thing I think about, like, I wear a breathing mask when I go to the gym. That's probably the only place I actually wear a mask to is the breathing mask when I go to the gym. And then I forget that shit on because it's so early in the day, I forget that I got my breathing mask on I'm restricting my breath so I can increase my strength. So whenever I'm breathing, now I can speak longer. I forget that it's on when I go to Sprouts or I go to, like, one of the stores. And niggas looking at me like, motherfuckers are looking at me because, like, I've taken my energies, I'm doing that charge. So I go into that space, my eyes are literally glowing. My eyes is on fucking fire when I'm in that space. So I got a mask on and I didn't already woke up. I didn't took my energy, click, 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 took my fire up. So I'm going into spaces and I remember, like, I'm in the space and like, nigga, why motherfuckers look at me like I look like I've lost my fucking mind? But it's based on the image that they're seeing. I remember asking myself that question before I went to sleep. I was like, you know how I told my self told myself, like, you know how your favorite character in Mortal Kombat is Scorpion? Nigga, when you go out in public with that mask on, you look like Scorpion. So keep scary niggas putting the mask on and looking like Scorpion. I was like, damn, that's why I keep having the hankering to want to go play Mortal Kombat for no reason. Yes, that's the reason you go want to play Mortal Kombat for no reason. Because nigga, you playing out yourself. This is you coming into your space. That's ownership mentality with yourself. Like you're literally Megatron on some bringing Cybertron to this space, bringing Cybertron into the visible spectrum. You're literally in that aspect for yourself, bringing yourself into this space, bringing you into this reality. You're bringing a projection of yourself into this reality to sustain you while you're doing your work. For some of us, we have done this in our cycles, in our lifetimes. You feel me? So like us coming together with our shit is to bring it like this. For others, you're going to start noticing that motherfuckers are still very fucking human. They're still very fucking, they're in their infant stage. But this is where most motherfuckers get trapped. But like, our niggas are lost. No, nigga, they in the infant stage. They in the infant stage. They're stuck in the time loop of infancy. They've been raised in the infancy stage their entire life. The only thing that made you different is that you didn't want to be an infant anymore. You set your contract up differently than them in this space. They got shit they got to learn. That's going to be on them. If it resonates with them, let it keep resonating. Let them come to that space in their time. This comes to one of the most hardest things for a lot of individuals based on that need and want mentality. Yeah. You locking yourself down into a space, but I want them to stop projecting your potential on them. This is one of the most dangerous aspects when we start doing things with people and we working with individuals. For me, working with an individual and being able to see them for what they truly are, seeing them for what they truly are, seeing the brokenness, seeing the scars, then listening to their story. We're sitting in that space and they're telling me their stories and they're telling me all of these things. I'm literally seeing these marks appear onto their body. I'm watching them appear. Yeah, if y'all ever seen one of the pictures, like if your words were tattoos, what would your body look like? That's literally what it looked like. I'm watching that shit formulate on their fucking body as they're saying it. I'm seeing the broken aspects. So seeing them in such a fucking truth, at first when I was like 8 or 9 years old, being able to see this, I didn't understand to be able to see people this way. That's why when you see a little kid or you see a kid and they look at somebody and just say some shit, they don't have the filter that you created yet. Nurture that aspect. They're giving you something that you haven't even learned yet to do. You forgot to do it. You forgot how to do it. You forgot the imagery of doing that aspect. You forgot the ability to build in that space. That's you learning how to build inside of that space, setting your tone. I used to love taking my niece everywhere when she was like 5 and 6 years old. She would say some crazy shit. And not just white people, but black people look at me like, you really shouldn't let your daughter say that. I was like, well, yeah, she is actually my daughter from another life. But I was like, yeah, why not? Because that's not right. What's not right? Is it true? Yeah, but some people have feelings. I was like, if they really had the feelings that they thought they had, they would have more discipline in the way that they make themselves in this space. That's what she's teaching. That's what I taught my niece. That's what I teach you, like to speak and understand the balances of yourself when you're moving in your space. Stand firm by what the fuck you say. But when you're saying it, make sure that you can stand within your truth by reinforcing it. Build it based on how you reinforce yourself. Or you're going to steady be getting trapped, trying not to, I'm trying to keep peace with everybody. They see me as perfect. No, they're not, because you don't understand what perfect is. Perfect is balance. Perfect is balance. That's all perfect is balance. Karma is whatever thought that you have put out into the universe, and it's coming back to you, whether you're paid it or not. That's your karmic debt. A lot of motherfuckers have a lot of karmic debt that they got to settle. That's why they're sitting in that space and they can't go to a certain point, because there's certain debts that they got to take care of. You got to take care of your debt. You got to take care of the shit that whatever trauma, whatever you've been through in that space, whatever you've done, it gave you now you acquired a certain amount of debt, because now you have to pay that off. Now you got to pay that off. No one else is going to be able to pay that off for you. This is the aspect of you becoming imbalanced and in one with yourself. The more imbalanced you become one with yourself, the lighter that you feel, because the emptier you become. You must become empty in order to become full. You got to become totally empty to become full. Stop trying to skip steps. Stop trying to skip steps and take the later approach, because you're going to open up shit that you don't want to open up. You're going to open up a gateway that was not meant for you. And that energy, that's the currency that's meant, the amount of energy that's meant to feed that gateway and portal, the level that you're at, that's for it. You're going to be, that feeding tube is going to be connected to you through that level. It's in you. It's going to connect to you. And now that's where it's feeding through. A lot of you have came into a space where right now you have been anchored to a certain space, and you like, nigga, why can't I go any further? I looked at it today. Go look at Eminem's Rap God video. He showed you two things. He actually showed a lot of shit in that fucking video. Well, he wasn't conscious of it. But he showed in that video, one, he was trapped in a box. He was trapped in that fucking box, and he was connected to everything that shaped him. Shaped his entire personality, shaped his entire fucking gimmick. Because you have to admit it, even though, like, yeah, he does this, he has the science down pat, he doesn't have the ability to actually take it any further. That becomes your example when you're looking at it. He's literally stuck inside of a box, his body. So he then connected to, and the cameras, all the lights, eyes are on him, the cameras are moving around, and it's scanning him, and he's stuck within a space. This takes you into the aspect of you can downgrade. You can downgrade. You can actually downgrade. I got the download on that after a couple weeks. A couple days ago. You can downgrade your energy into another space. This is when Bobby Hemming was talking about everybody that black ain't black and everybody that's white ain't white. You can downgrade your energy based on something that you feel like you needed to learn, based on whatever contract you set for yourself. So you sitting there, man, I wish. So like, this is when motherfuckers sitting there talking about, and then you see it in reflections of what they're doing based on that level of hurt, based on where they're at. So when you see an individual and you see them, big them up. Like, all right, cool. I hope you're getting everything. Big that up. Stop sitting here. This is another ego trap that motherfuckers get stuck within. This is another fucking ego trap. I can't stand to see my beautiful queens with them fucking white devils. I can't stand to see my brothers with them white girls. Big them up. Big them up. Say, bravo. Bravo, you're brilliant. You look real nice. Learn what the word nice means. Nice is not nice. Nice is actually saying you're a fucking idiot. Say, congratulations, you're very fucking nice. You're giving me an experience that I can learn from. That's how you feed. Big them up. Be like, great. Because if you mad at it, why are you upset with it? Because there's so many black women around here that's hurting out here and they need a good man in their life. You looking at it from needing and wanting. The reason that they exist in their needing and wanting, and you're seeing it and it resonates with you, is because it's resonating with your needing and wanting. They got something mundane out of that. You getting something, man, you mad because you can't get the same mundane shit. You sitting there, I can't stand when that's like you sitting there and saying, I can't stand when my sisters got on. They put their hair under all this stuff and whatever, and they ain't using their original hair. That ain't got shit to do with you. Like, why would I get stuck? Now I'm gonna argue this for the next 16 fucking months and years. I'm stuck on that. Like respect them where they at. They ain't got to a certain level. That doesn't change the way you're gonna speak to them. Give them the information the same way you would give it to anybody else. If you're really about the information and advancing in elevation, give them the information. Speak it to them. This goes down into every fucking process. You're worried about being seen in a way that you don't want to be seen. You're worried about one of your personalities that you have created based on the perception of being from around others for so long that you're scared that perception of yourself is now going to be put in danger. Good. Chaos is good. Chaos is for creation. You burn that bridge of that personality of yourself in that space, and when you burn that down, now you have energy to do something else. What are you doing with the energy now that you've destroyed it? Yeah. Stop putting yourself in that space, hoping that everybody is going to like you for you going into where the fuck you need to go. It's not about them liking you. It's not about if they like it. If they hate you, they don't have an understanding of you. If they like you, people are going to hate you and like. We've heard the saying like and hate for the same reason. So if somebody hates me on one level about something that I say, and if someone likes me on a level that of what I didn't say, I'm going to look at them equally and use discernment for both. I'm not going to ignore this aspect over here, this hatred, and only concentrate on the like aspect because they're coming from the same space. They can be coming from the same exact space. Two people can be sitting in the same fucking space, listening to the same conversation that I'm fucking speaking. And the chick has already created this glamorous aspect of what she needs in her life next. And the dude sitting there and be like, man, this nigga, I don't care. Because the reason that he hate me, that resonating of the energy that I'm permitting, the energy that I'm emitting, the light that I'm emitting into that space is the same reason that she likes me. I don't have a need or a want. So I'm not leaning to one side or I'm not leaning to the other side. Because that would question my balance of me. I'm in ether. I'm outside of time. So for either one of them to even travel into that space, they got to go outside the time. And either for anybody to come into the space where you at, you're taking them out of this 3D realm and you're taking them into the quantum world. That's why most of the inventors and everybody on that narrative motherfuckers looked like they were fucking crazy. Because they achieved a certain aspect, they achieved a certain level of gnosis to themselves. That it don't matter what the fuck. Everything naturally gonna fall into place anyway. Mm-hmm. This is you building your space. Understanding that this ain't real. What makes this real is the feeling that's tied behind it. So if I reinforce my feeling into this, and I can make this as real as I want it based on the emotional that I put into it. What emotion do I feed into this space? What energy am I putting into this space to make it real? Tricking myself to love the nigga. I have conversations with this motherfucker on the daily. I have conversations with him on the daily. I have conversations with the Buddha that's over here. I have conversations with Ganesh. I have conversations with my fucking hand. I have conversations with Santa del Muerte. I have conversations with them on a regular basis because I have an understanding of interfacing with that space of energy. Generator, operator, destroyer. Generator, operator, destroyer. The destroyer, the operator, the generator. So when you look at Anubis, you understand the aspect of the dog. Dog's most loyal aspect, no matter what the fuck you do, it's going to be the most loyal aspect to you in that space anyway. Based on the level of energy that's brought into that space. It's all about balance. Cats are naturally fucking assholes by nature. Because they're the chaotic. Yeah, the bitch or the dog star and all of these aspects. They're all higher aspects. But you getting stuck on better not call me no damn bitch. Back in those good and olden days. Back in those good olden days. When they were calling motherfuckers old bitches. They were talking about, they were into that space. But you bring it down into this space and you want it to make sense down here. It ain't supposed to make sense down here. It's been separated down here for a fucking reason. It's brought into a good and a bad environment, these two extremes, for you to better be able to study it, to make your own hypothesis, create your own create your own realm, create your own world. Everything in my world is fucking sweet. It's good. Wake up, go to sleep, but that's that inner work. In order to bring balance, in order to bring the harmony to yourself, you got to do that shit inside of yourself. You got to work inside of yourself. You got to bring yourself to that balance. You got to bring yourself to that peace. You got to bring yourself to that Shangri-La of happiness. You got to bring yourself to that space before anything else can be matriculated. Your cup full and you trying to put ice cubes of happiness into a cup of happiness. You trying to bring all that, you trying to bring all that shit into that cup, that you're trying to bring ice cubes of happiness and peace into a cup of fucking anger and sorrow and pain. Now you got a peaceful, now you're just peacefully angry. Now you're just peacefully angry. You're abundantly sad. You're abundantly in grief. You're prosperous in your fucking apathy. All of these aspects, because you just keep filling up your cup with shit instead of dumping the cup out first. Let me pour this shit out on the fucking ground and look what it is. The next time I'm in that club with all those energies, let them knock my cup out of my hand. What did I learn? I should not go into the club expecting myself to get a drink. Yeah. If you ain't seeing what you need to see. And like if I sat here, we could sit here all day and I can just read this whole fucking book. And you would get information. 1 second. and you would get information. It'd be great. You would get information. We could sit there and disclose different parts of the book and be like, yeah, da 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 da, and all that shit. But what did you learn? Learning in the truest aspect is taking you into a space to where it challenges everything that you once knew. How you used to live, how you used to survive. You're going from this house over here of survival, that burning house. Now you're going into, let that shit burn down. Let me build my space over here. Everything that's meant to be in this space with me at this time is going to connect to me naturally. But there is the trick. Yes, but did you die? But here's the trick. The thing that a lot of people do when you start doing your work and shit start happening, you get into this sense of excitement and you're like, okay, cool. Let me keep riding the wave, or you're riding the high. So, okay, cool. You meditated a couple times and now you felt like your day done changed up a little bit, but you're not the other aspect. Remember that layer, the rainbow. What is behind this original arc of energy? What are you reinforcing that arc of energy with to fill that space in? Because this space now needs to be filled. It's empty. Because now that you're out of this dip of mindset down here, and you've emptied this space and hollowed this earth, made this hollow, now I'm filling up this. You do that, then you understand how the pyramids was fucking built. The block came from up here. The capstone's at the top of the pyramid. It ain't at the bottom. That's why when the white people, when they looking for the capstone, capstone's always at the top. They told you it was at the bottom because no, it was at the top. It starts up in here. It starts on what you're building, what your crown is built upon, so you can actually do that energy. What's on your head and what's on your feet. What guides your movements. What gives you your train of thought. What are you bringing into balance when you're inside of your space? Don't ride that wave. Yes. Well, don't ride that wave thinking that, okay, cool, I'm good and da 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 da. Because now you're just gonna be stuck religifying everything in your fucking, you're gonna religify your fucking spiritual shit. And then you'll be one of those individuals that are sitting there and I cannot go out tonight. It's a full moon and I have to reserve my energy on the full moon. I did a whole ritual yesterday for Thanksgiving. I did a whole ritual again. The same ritual. That shit's even burned even higher because that same ritual was going into the aspects of the full moon. Full moon came up under Black Friday. Under that line, like my shit naturally is in succession. So I'm not, my mindset's not stuck on getting trapped on trying to make myself fit. Yo, I got to get all this stuff. And on this day, I got to do this. Because that's the same thing as you saying on this day. That's the same thing as you programming your mind to say, I'm only going to do this once I have this. So I'm going to throw the whole baby out with the bathwater if it ain't giving me what I need. And I'm going to focus on this. You can't keep throwing all that shit out. You got to do the work to reinforce your levels of your steps. Your past and your present and your future is all in the same fucking tense. You think about the future. At the same time, you think about the past. And then you sitting here stuck in the fucking present. You can't bring transparency to understand how to flow this energy to do this. All of that's in the same fucking alignment. But if you only focused on this, you never can focus on this. And if you only focused on that, you never can focus once again on this. Because you existing in one space while living in since you're existing in your past, you're existing in your present, you're existing in your future. But when you're living in your now, you're living in your past and you're living in your future at the same fucking time. This is how you can, responsibility is of your past, accountability is of your future. That's all based into your present state. Let me take responsibility for the shit I did back then so I can now have new accountability when I'm moving up forward. That's your balance. But most motherfuckers get stuck in, Yeah, I was a bad kid and all of this. Tell me a story about your mother. Full story in detail about your mother. I give full stories in detail about parts of my fucking life with aspects of memories. And I can tell you everything from the color of the shirts to my mother's haircut to what I was like 2 weeks. I can give you exact aspects, break that shit all the way down. That's healing. When you're able to say every single part that you remember in that space, and you ain't harping on the memory, you ain't harping on the trauma, you're looking at what was in that space, because that's where all your answers are going to be at. Why was my mom wearing a purple shirt on this day in particular, and why is that coming up in my dream? Why is her shirt so bright? That's the aspects what you're looking for inside of your dream. Most people look inside of their dreams, they look for shit that looks comfortable or looks fucking familiar to them. So you don't look for the unfamiliar aspects to bring balance, because the unfamiliar aspect that's within the dream, or the craziness that's within your dream, is to counterbalance the aspect of that's the bring the balance to the aspect of what your dream is telling you. That's why you'll see crazy shit in your dream, and then the message don't match what the fuck you. That's why whenever you read dream books and shit, and it can be like you were running naked down the street, and they say running naked down the street mean this in the reality of your real world. But if you're looking at your dream from a literal sense, you'll never understand it. You keep looking at this shit from a literal sense, you're always going to try to create a reason. You're always going to try to create this two-sided coin of an answer. So you're going to get a reason. You're going to get the true aspect of reason. But since you're not used to that, you're going to try to create this aspect of what it must really mean, because you're looking at it backwards. Instead of creating the meaning, you're looking for the meaning. Instead of seeking, and you shall find, you're sitting there searching even for more. You're looking for something to happen, and it ain't fucking happening. Why this ain't happened to me yet? I guess I'm doing it wrong. You told your mind, guess what? You're doing it wrong. So now every time you meditate, all you thinking about in your mental, when you clearing your mind or you biting on your tongue, you're silencing that inner tongue. Only thing that's coming into your mind is everything wrong, because you just said everything I do is wrong anyway. So now in your space, in your physical, everything becomes wrong. If I'm not where I want to be right here, then I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it yet. So now you find yourself in that. Now you find yourself in this space looking for escapes to go into spaces to make you like, oh yeah, I'm doing shit over here now. Over here is this. The only reason you go into certain spaces because they match the frequency of what the fuck you doing in your own shit. That's your self-worth. That's your worth. You only going to go to places that are based upon your worth. And the things that you feel that are not based upon your worth, you're going to change you're going to give a whole nother personality to it. You're going to give yourself a whole nother fucking personality to go into another space. Me just like this. It don't matter what store I go into, I'm going just like this. Just like this. Don't care. Did I take a shower? Yes. Did I take a shower? Yes. Did I do my normal hygienic shit? Yes. So what the fuck do I care for? What they're going to think is not going to change the way that I'm going into that space. Oh my God, he got a shirt that got the devil on it. Okay. Oh my God, he got a hoodie. He got a fucking hoodie. They got the gates of hell on the back of it. Oh my God, I can't believe he wore that in here. He got a hoodie. He got a hoodie that got his Lucifer on. Nigga, that's my fucking name. Would you like to ask me about my hoodie? Ask me about my fucking hoodie then. Ask me. I'm going to give you an answer. Are you ready for the answer? Are you ready to submit to yourself? Okay, that's going to be your key, submitting to yourself. The first person you submit, the first thing you're submitting to is you. The first thing you're going to fall in love with is you. The first thing you're going to find happiness in is with you. Everything else that you're trying to externally do based on, I want that in my life, so I'm gonna act like that. You're gonna be that motherfucker that's, yeah, I meditate too. Yeah, I do this too. Yeah, I do this too. Because when you're talking to, there's a difference. When you're talking to motherfuckers that are doing it based on the trend just like you, y'all gonna say the same empty ass shit. Yeah, I needed to clear my energy and do this, and this. When I'm talking about meditation to people that I have regular conversations with talking about meditation, we talking about the trippiest shit that we did. We talking about in detail the trippiest shit that we seen. Levels to your shit. There's energy. There's a different invoking energy to your shit. What did you see? But it's not based on trying to match things on that frequency. It's based on cultivating and charging. What did you see in your What did you see in your dream? Damn, that's crazy. I read something on that. It was like this, and this. You should. How have you felt? Like, you feel me? Like, there's depth to the conversation. That's for the depths and the ones that we're in that space. When you're in that space, that's our small talk. This, to me, this is my small talk. Because this is my environment. This is my mentality. This is my mind. You're only going to you're only going to be able to connect into your mind what's already based upon your original mentality. Where your mind's at, what you've been thinking about, how you've been feeling, and all that. You're only going to be able to pour in based on that space. You notice some people, they don't think in a unified sense. They don't think in a unified sense. So since they're not unified, everything outside of them, since they're fractured at a point in their space, in their body, their lifestyle is going to match that fracture. This is seeing energy. This is reading energy. This is reading people. Reading people with discernment and not judgment. Some people think that I read people all day. No, you reading people based on judgment. You ain't reading people based on discernment. When I sit there and look at a person, I break a person all the way fucking down to their fucking, I break the person down from the inside out. I don't break it from the outside in. I don't judge people by what the fuck they look like. I'm looking at their fucking soul the entire time. So when I make a decision based on my discernment of why I don't deal with a certain individual, I can make a detailed account of why. That person is not savory to my energy. I can make that boundary and set my tone. It's not based on, since I'm out of the space of needing and wanting, and everything that I need is going to come to me naturally. All I do is create the containment for it at that space and time. I'm not looking for, but yo, man, they invited. No, I don't care. Invite me all fucking day. That's nice, but that's not for me. This is you setting your parameters, not falling for that trick. Oh yeah, I was talking. Yeah, this is the aspect that when you most of you have cursed yourselves based on you by the original spell that you spoke. You don't even remember the spell. I don't have time for this. This isn't my. Once I get all this in order, once I get this in order, then I'm gonna do this. Okay, cool. That's your mindset. That's the curse that you have now laid upon yourself. Because now everything that you're going to do, you're never going to have time for. Because you laid that curse on yourself. So now when you feeling like other individuals have said something to you, yo, that motherfucker, your energy, the energy is based on, the curse is based on the energy that you put into the equal parts of your energy into it anyway. So think about how many libations you've poured unconsciously. Think about how many blunts you've smoked with individuals unconsciously. Think about how many events you've had fun with unconsciously, not realizing what the fuck you laid out. Because that's going to be the first thing that's going to come up in your shadow work. Trying to keep that house intact, knowing that whole shit got to be destroyed. You sitting there like, But I got some good stuff out of there. You got good memories. You got good memories out of it, but you didn't really get anything out of it. The spirit, your spirit guides, your ancestors, whatever you have encompassed it into, they are naturally going to put you in a position and they're going to give you everything that is needed for you to do what you need to do, down to the timing. When we talk about divine timing, down to the divine timing of the space that you're in. And they're going to let you do, you have free will, so you can do whatever the fuck you want. But it's only going to happen for a certain period of time. I watched spirits jump from one person to another person because the other person was doing what the fuck they were supposed to do. They don't give a fuck about sides. They don't give a fuck about right or wrong. They don't give a fuck about good or bad. They're connecting to whatever is pulling down the strongest amount of energy. Whatever is able to encompass the biggest amount of energy. This is you manipulating your space. This is why if my space is set on my good intentions, my power, my energy, all of that to that level. So everything that I do naturally coincides that aspect. You come and have a conversation with me, you having a conversation with me, you gonna learn some shit. It's gonna sizzle in your spirit. It's gonna sizzle. It's gonna leave a mark. You gonna, even if you don't think about it every other fucking day, it's still in your fucking mind. And now it's gonna create a longing. This is the devil whispering in your ear. That's devil. That's like when you started like devil speaking, they make the shit seem spooky, nigga. It's only speaking to your fucking soul. I only can speak to your soul because I come from the aspect of a part of your soul. So if you can't hear it, that means the part of your soul is the reason that I came into that. The reason that you're coming into that existence to have that conversation with that person is so they humble your ass. So your ass, you can actually, similar to the best example that I can use for this is similar to when you go into for surgery, when they have to set the bone, when they got to set your teeth, when they got to set the mold. When you go into these spaces of what you're saying is the worst relationship that ever happened in your life, or a relationship that it's setting you up, you need that to happen so you reach a level of humility. The issue is when that happens to you, the way that you're used to reacting instead of learning how to respond, that is going to be your key to connecting that arch. If you go based on reacting, you're only going to react based off of past event, past memory, past thought. But if I'm going in a level of response, that means I'm going in a level based on discernment. Why does this keep happening at this point in time every time I come to that point? Why does this keep happening to me? Why is this inside of that space? You're not asking questions to get the answer to be like, oh, that's why, because niggas ain't shit. Or because that's why, because my job ain't shit. Or because that's why, because these white people don't want to see me live. You ain't going based on that. Your mindset is to understand by becoming the literal scientist within that space, to be able to actually look and be like, you know what? Wow, I ain't never thought about it this way, or I ain't never seen it that way. How can I see it more that way? The only way to see it that way is to apply those mechanics. That's why that example was given to you. Apply that mechanics to your life. I can guarantee you your shit gonna change, because change is the only thing that's constant. Now, how are you investing into that discomfort that you just felt? How are you investing into it? What are you building after you've done it? The things that are around you, how are you raising them to your right frequency? Here's the realest thing about the aspect of the frequency. When you start traveling upwards, the things that can't exist are the two frequencies can't match, or they will distort. Think about it like that microphone. Think about it like the microphone. You speaking it That's like if I'm speaking into the microphone and I'm loud as hell, but my energy doesn't match what I'm saying, it's going to distort everything that I say. So when you inside of your space, what space are you saying what you need from? What space are you building yourself from? How does your environment match your shit? How does your environment match where the fuck you at? I'm in the new earth mentality. I'm in my quantum mentality. So everything on my level has to match that level or match that frequency, or it's going to deaden out. And naturally, the energy that was pouring into it at that point in time for myself is now the energy that gave it confidence is the same energy. The same energy is flowing down there, but now it's going to show them insecurity. It's going to show them fear. It's going to show them pain. It's going to keep showing them these things because those are the things that they need to see. Those are the things that they need to face before they go into that cave. And it's on them, not you. That is going to change that. They're going to see you, but they can't touch you. They're going to see you, but they can't envision where you at. The only thing that they can go back to is the memory of your past, where you started at, because that's where their mind is at. You can go there. You're going from the ground to that bird's eye view. So when I'm in my space, I'm going from the bird's eye view. So I can see where I was at, I can see where I'm at now, and I can see where I'm going. All in that past, present, future tense. So now that I can see this, I can now cultivate. I don't have to worry about, I don't have to think about the future result. I don't have to put that in my mindset. All I got to do is walk my line. All I got to do is step on my steps. All I got to do is Billie Jean and watch the fucking floor light up below me. That's you coming into that's you standing on your square. That's you bringing sight to the blind. That's you bringing food to the hungry. That's you doing the fish shit. That's you turning water into wine. That's your miracles. Be the God. You want to say that you're going to do it? Once you state that claim for yourself, everything that comes up after that is going to be the training of a God. Stop getting sucked in thinking with the dog. A dog can never be a human until it stops thinking like a dog. You can train yourself to act as it, but until you become it, you can't use the energy. Eminem and the rap god. Where you at? What you want to do? Where you want to be at? Create and reinforce those steps. Stop falling into the ego traps and stop falling into the aspects of being cursed. Fearing the aspects. You fear curses because you don't understand what a curse is. You fear the hex, but you didn't hex yourself a million fucking times. Hexes within X's. That's the soul tie. A true hex is based upon the soul ties. What energy did you take from that space and what did you give back? That's why I do the cut the cord reading, because it's the most important, one of the most top readings before we can even do anything. What did you learn? What did you gain? What did you lose? How did you help? How are you going to heal? Everything leads back to your shadows. Everything leads you right back to the darkness. That becomes the main fear for a lot of people. You don't want to go into that darkness. You don't want to go into that alone time. You don't want to go into that alone time adventure because the illusion of being alone is scary to you. If I'm alone with these thoughts, then I'm weaker than my thoughts. You control your mind don't control you. Stop trying to put it in the closet. Stop trying to throw it away. Stop trying to get over it. Stop trying to keep pushing it back into that old shit. Deal with it. Sit there with it. Study it. That's your natural shit. That's why you naturally do it. That's why we naturally want to know everything about something. I need to know where it's made. I need to know where all of these aspects is within your training. Try the new shit. Man, I never could go plant-based. Try it. Whole different discipline. Man, I never could do this. Try it. It's a whole different discipline. You don't know what the fuck you can't do until you do it. You don't know what the fuck is truly you until you actually do it. The shit that you hate the most is probably the closest shit to your fucking soul. Guarantee you. But you want to find the easy way. That ain't how it works. Keep tricking yourself. I never could see I hate them so fucking badly. And then they keep, so you just created another reason for them to exist in your life. How bad do you really hate it if you talk about it every other fucking day? Hate is simply hate. Fear is simply a lack of understanding of it. Stop falling for the tricks. Stop falling for, I'm going to be a fucking Power Ranger. I'm going to run for the movement. This shit's done. The big shit going to be having motherfuckers that happen on December 20th. It's going to change a lot of motherfuckers' lives. The energy already now has already changed a lot of people's lives. All at their level of where they at. It's showing them more and more and more what the fuck they need to do and what side they want to be on. There's no more choosing sides because the shits have merged. You got 1 to 2 decisions. Either you're going to stay out there in The Walking Dead or you're going to come over here where it's lit. It don't matter to me. I'm in the space where it's lit. I'm in the space where it's fucking great and fucking gracious and fucking amazing and shit. I'm in there. I love it here. I love it where I'm at. I love it where I'm going. Because everywhere that I'm going, everywhere that I'm at, I'm creating the space I'm creating the conduits and the containers for my energy to be there. That's your goal. That's your point. Stop trying to make shit down here. Do that fucking work. Stop allowing motherfuckers to lead your ass astray. Go to the most honest person in your life. Was the motherfucker that gave you the realest shit, the most honest drunk, the most honest person that were in that space, and they gave you information and they told you some real shit because they came from a real space of pain and where they came from. That's the person that's your example. Stop looking for it to be, I'm at peace. Every ascendant master hurts feelings. Every ascendant master, every adept hurts feelings. We're not here for feelings. And that's what God-Core Alchemist does. Raw from balance. Love yourself. Grow. I want you to be the fucking best. I want you to be the fucking best. I claim that aspect for you to be the fucking best. I want you to be the best. I want you to grow. I want you to nurture yourself. I want you to develop. I want you to invoke your power and take yourself to the next level. That's all I want. That's all I want. That's the primary of what I want for myself. So that's naturally reflected in everything that I do. My value is set based on that. My desire is based on that. Set that tone for yourself. That breakup that's about to happen, friendship that's about to end, that family shit that's been strained, let it happen. It's supposed to. Guarantee it's supposed to happen. Because if it don't happen, you can't advance. Let it happen. Let it happen. Or you can keep letting shit tap dance on your fucking soul and be stuck here for another fucking round. Allow the tower to fall. Allow everything to come apart so it can now come back together in a higher sense. Somebody sent me a text about frankincense and myrrh. Yeah. (910-777-7708). GottaCoAlchemistLLC.com. Appreciate the support. Appreciate the donations. I appreciate all that energy that we bring into this space every fucking Friday. What you're doing from here, you have to be thankful for being empty before you can become fulfilled. Allow yourself to empty. Allow the hunger pain. Allow the hunger pain. Allow the thoughts. Allow it all to come up to the surface. Because that's the only way you're going to become empty. Only way you're going to become your best self. Menswear commercial. I guarantee it. If you're interested in services, GottaCoAlchemistLLC.com, or you can inbox me at Rock Hollow and Aegis, or you can DM me at Papa_Lucy666. Hit the number 910-777-7708. Hit the email papalucy666@gmail.com. Hit up GottaCoAlchemistLLC.com. Schedule that consultation. Let's get you started. You ready? This is what we're here for. This is what I'm here for. I want to see you be great. I want to see you be the best. Stay tuned. Sunday service this Sunday at 2. Podcast. God Hour podcast. 6 a.m. 6 a.m. every Tuesday. Be the best. About it. I love you. We love us. Ashe.